I should slow down, but maybe I'm escaping the love we found. There's something about you I like, about you I like. I get too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die for you. One of us gotta say the obvious. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better. Nobody loves me better. Guess I'm just too scared to settle down. There'd be many nights I got too high and almost left town. But there's something about you I like, about you I like. I get too drunk and too scared and lie to you. If only you knew I would die.
Well, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Hero Life Hump Day Live. It's Hump Day. Although we just got off of Thanksgiving break, so I don't know if we really are that excited to get to the weekend. Maybe we are. Maybe we've got a lot of decorating and Christmas shopping to do. I don't know. Did you guys start decorating on Thanksgiving? It seems to be the day where everybody kind of gets out there and starts their decorating. We put up the tree, and I put up the tree, which is take it out of the box, right? Plop it down, pull out the mechanical arms or whatever, plug it in. I'm good to go. It's like, hey, that's good for me. My daughter Kristen likes to put up a lot of different lights, but she likes it a very particular way. So I offered to help, but she's like, no, I got this, because she likes it a very specific way, which is fine with me, and she does a great job. And so, but it's funny because she's having that typical experience, and she's only really done this a couple years now, like full on out with a bunch of lights around the house and outside, and she's now experiencing what all of us have experienced, right? Where you plug in the light strand and test it, right? It tests good. Then you spend, half an hour, whatever, stringing them all around, and when you plug it in, they don't work, or even more likely, half the strand doesn't work, right? It's that half strand that kills you, because you're like, well, now what do? Do I take it down? Do I just put up another half thing, and then you got to find one that fits for that? And it's a whole deal, but it's fun. It makes part of the holiday season, right? So if you're on today, say hello. I can't see who you are, and if you're on, if you got a comment, say hello. So today is what, December 2nd? Oh yes, already December. I'd like to say, well, the year has flown by, but it hasn't really flown by. Not in my opinion. It's been a slow drag, so it'll be really nice to move it along. Although, as I've said a few times, I don't think we're going to be completely, out of the woods here in January, but we're getting there. We are getting there, hopefully. If we can get through the next couple of months with COVID and not filling up our hospitals, that's what I'm worried about, is we're going to fill up our hospitals, and that people that need any kind of help with whatever disease aren't going to get as good a care, although they're going to do the best that they absolutely can. I absolutely know that. So we'll see. So put up a chat here. If anybody's on YouTube, I'm going to see if I can see YouTube messages today. I've got my little restream chat up. Sometimes I don't see them, but I will try to get on those today. So yes, put in a comment, say hello. Let's see. Oh, temperature wise, well, let's see. Apple Watch says 33, so it's a little chilly here in this neck of the woods. What's the weather like in your neck of the woods? Who says that? Somebody says that on TV. I think it's Al Roker. That's funny. Okay, so look, I got a fun little thing here. We're gonna switch over here to, because I'm kind of a weather geek. Hold on. Okay, I had this thing all set up, and then it went weird on me. Okay, I think we're good. No, that's not it. Hold on, we're gonna get this. This will be good. This will be good. NDI. Okay, there we go. Oh, did it die? No, there we go. Okay, so this is going to be weather cam. Weather cam. Let's take a look at here at the weather in Overland Park, Kansas. Oh, you probably can't hear me. Sorry. Yeah, so that's weather cam, and yeah, here's my office, and back. So yeah, you do these little remotes, so that's kind of fun. Back to me. No, now back to me. Yay. Okay, weather cam down. All right, so how's everybody doing? You guys good this week? Did you make it through Thanksgiving? How was your Thanksgiving? Mine was very quiet. My daughter and I, just the two of us. And, you know, we didn't want to cook a big old turkey. We probably couldn't. Neither one of us aren't that good at cooks. My son is the awesome cook, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we didn't get together. He's in Montana, and but he cooked a big turkey for him and one of his neighbors. So he's an awesome chef. He doesn't like when I say that because he's like, I'm not a chef. I just follow directions. But he likes doing it. That's the key, I think. And yeah, so it was just very quiet. We went, you know, got a little hen house meal for two, some turkey, all the sides. It was fine. It was fine. I enjoyed it. But other than that, it was very quiet. So, today we're going to talk about archetypes. So, what do you guys know about archetypes? Does anybody on here know what the definition of an archetype is? As you know, or may not know, I focus on one major archetype. So that may give you a clue of what an archetype is. And of course, the one I focus on is called the hero. And so today, we're going to find out and talk about what they are, how we can use them in our lives. So stay tuned. Trying to figure out how to get weather cam turned off here. Can't seem to get that figured out. I don't think it'll cause a problem. That's okay. All right. So yeah, we're going to talk about archetypes. So I'll tell you what. We didn't get any news today, but you know what? That's all right. Same old same stuff anyways. So the dictionary definition of an archetype is a very typical example of a certain person or thing, or a recurrent symbol or motif in literature, art, and mythology. So that kind of gives an idea that it's a symbol. And let's dive even deeper. So Carl Jung, who was the Swiss psychologist, he didn't coin the term or create the term archetype, but he made it very popular because he really took the meaning of archetypes and went really deep with that. And he had a concept that he called the collective unconsciousness. And now he believed that every human is genetically born with this common view of these symbols, of these archetypes, and that we're born with these, and that when we are presented with these symbols or myths or these constructs that are called archetypes, that we instantly know what the story is or what we're talking about. So we'll unpack this a little bit more, but he used the term archetype to describe symbols and myths that represent behavior patterns, and they make up different personality types. So again, the hero is the one that I am most familiar with in the hero's journey. And when you say the word hero, or that symbol or that construct, you immediately understand the issue. You understand what a hero is, what they typically do. Just like if I say the king, which is another archetype, or the warrior, that's an archetype, or the creator, that's an archetype. And so they're little encapsulations, little symbols that you can talk about in a story or a myth, and they immediately allows you to understand what we're talking about. So, and that isn't something that we learn. That is something that we know. I don't really understand his concept of this. It's something I'm diving in deeper and deeper into the study of Carl Jung and different archetypes. I find it really interesting. And the whole concept of the collective unconscious is really one of his standard studies, areas of expertise. And they connect into this archetypal part. Why we have this, I'm not sure. I'm still unpacking, how he explains that we have this collective unconsciousness. But it is connected to archetypes because we basically understand what an archetype is when we say it. Again, the queen, the king, the warrior, the hero. And so what I find fascinating about them is that then you can use them to unpack personality types and to help you understand your life better. Because I think what Carl Jung is saying is that all humans share this common traits that are symbolized by these archetypes, so that we all can relate in some way to these archetypes. And so on a surface level, they can give us an understanding of a general understanding, typically of, you can throw the word rebel into something and instantly you know what that archetype, what that means in a story. But how do you take it the next level and really help use the archetypes to help you really unpack more of who you are, what your personality type is, and how you can relate into the world? And again, as I talk about in the hero's journey, and really this is just the next extension of the hero's journey. This is probably going to be in my next book. It will probably be an extension of now using, instead of just the hero, in the hero's journey to help us understand our lives better, I'm going to unpack more archetypes to help us understand our life better. I really enjoy looking at metaphor, looking at mythology that's ancient wisdom, right? That's been around forever to help us understand ourselves better. Because again, as long as time has been and man has been around, of course I say man, I mean, men and women, we have had these stories, these archetypes, these human conditions, right? And so it's timeless. And so it's fascinating because we can use the same archetypes that would help describe characters, that might be in the Bible or, back at that time in antiquity, and then all through the centuries, the same archetypes can be used to describe how humans behave and how we are. So I find that, fascinating. So Jung came up with 12 basic archetypes that I'm going to call the Jungian archetypes. And I'll just read these off. They're the ruler, the creator artist, the sage, the innocent, the explorer, the rebel, the hero, the wizard, the jester, everyman, the lover, the caregiver. So he focused on these 12, and you can use these 12, and it's interesting because it lines up with the 12 stages of the hero's journey. These are fairly generic, and I will explore these, and we'll talk more about these in later episodes. But right now, what's really fascinating me is what's called the major arcana. And there are 22 archetypes in the major arcana. So let me talk about that a little bit. So you've all heard of a tarot cards, right? A deck of tarot cards. So the major arcana are 22 archetypes that are in a deck of tarot cards. So there's typically 78, I think, anywhere from 56 to 78 cards in a typical tarot deck. And the first 22 are these 22 major archetypes, or keys as they're called sometimes. The rest of the deck, or the rest of the 56 cards are more like playing cards. You know, they're laid out with suits. They aren't called the same suits that we're familiar with in our deck of cards now, but our deck of cards now actually started from these tarot suits. And so one of the suits is wands, and you've got what else? Swords. These are different suits, swords, and pentacles. And then, so they started off back in the 1400s as playing cards. And then over time, especially in the 1700s, they took on a little bit more of a mystical aspect, and people started using them to understand more mystical aspects of human nature, but then also divining, future. And so a lot of people knows these from, fortune tellers, right, telling people's fortune and so on. I'm not really into that yet. If it ever, that's not what attracted me to these. What attracted me was the 22 archetypes, because what's cool about this is that they can be broken down and laid into the hero's journey. And so that's what I find obviously fascinating. So let me go through these real quick. The 22 major archetypes of the major arcana. So you've got the major arcana, which are these 22 archetypes, and then you've got the minor arcana, which are then the rest of the tarot cards, if you will, that apparently relate more to very specific issues in people's lives. And these are the cards that typically people will shuffle and do a tarot layout, right, and read your fortune or answer questions for you, right? That's how a lot of these can work. The major arcana, these 22 keys, as they're called, are more about like the hero's journey and about traditional archetypes, where they're now talking about life concepts in a fuller, broader picture. And that's what I'm really interested in, is how can we use metaphor and archetypes to help us understand our lives better and the world better, and how we can relate better in the world from sort of ancient wisdom that has always been there. And it isn't about looking at these cards and saying, oh, I'm being a king today. But it is understanding that in the behaviors that you're having, these traits that maybe you're putting on, this king archetype in a good way, which is good, but there's also the shadow side of all these cards too, which if you're in your shadow side of your king, then you're going to be domineering and potentially, evil, the evil king, and so on. And so it can help you understand how you are reacting and being in life. So we've got the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, which is another sort of priestly, kingly character. The Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. So here's what's cool about this. You can line these up in a circle. And when you do this, if you follow the circle counterclockwise down the left side of a circle, you will then follow the hero's journey all the way around. And that's what we're going to do through some different series, is we're going to unpack some of these and relate it back to the hero's journey. And so you can break these up this way. So in the preparation phase of the hero's journey, so they're broken up into seven groups in each of the phases of the hero's journey. So you've got the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, and the Chariot are all going to be connected to the preparation phase of the hero's journey. So as we start to unpack what these are and what they mean, they're going to impart information about the preparation for the journey. So the second phase, the journey phase, is strength, the hermit, wheel of fortune, justice, the hangman, death, temperance. And the last phase, the devil, the tower, the star, the moon, the sun, judgment, and the world. So it's interesting that when you come around, the very last card in of the keys in the major arcana is the world. So it sort of comes full circle in a journey back to understanding ourselves in relation to the world. Now what's interesting is that the Fool is a very specific character in the major arcana, because the Fool is in position 0, meaning that the Fool doesn't really connect to any of the phases of the hero's journey, and that the Fool is really the wild card, if you will. And in fact, this is the typical Joker that we see in our card decks today. It evolved into the Joker. And the reason it's the wild card is because the Fool is the one that starts off in taking the journey. It's sort of a whimsical character that doesn't really have any cares in the world, and is going to just go off and explore life. And he's got his trusty dog with him, he's got his little backpack thing, and he's off to explore the world. And so in position 0, he doesn't fit into any specific pattern, if you will. But he also, the arc of the hero's journey could be contained in the Fool. That the Fool could be the hero of the story that follows this whole journey. So the Fool is sort of an interesting character, and we'll unpack the Fool quite a bit. The Magician is one that I'm finding personally very interesting. I relate a lot to the Magician. I've had actually people tell me that just out of the blue that I exhibit some of the Magician energy. And it's interesting because the Magician typically is a lover of knowledge, loves to teach, loves to gain knowledge. It's the wizard kind of magical power. And I do relate to that. I love to learn. I love to just find knowledge, and then I love to talk about it and pass it on. And it's one of the areas that makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm relating really well to the Magician. So I'm going to be studying and looking even deeper into the Magician as it relates to me. And this is how we can use these cards. And then the next one is the High Priestess. And so a lot of people will probably connect, a lot of women will probably connect with the archetype of the High Priestess. Between the two, you've got divine masculine and divine femininity. The divine feminine. And there's a lot of good study between these two cards that I'll start to unpack. And anyway, so that's just a brief introduction to what I'm going to be talking about and studying in the next area, time. And I just thought I would kick this off and just give a real brief overview of what I'm looking into and what archetypes are and how they can be used in our life. And I will start to go into more detail at some different points, but let's see if I can, let me pull up the first 3 cards up here, and we'll just look at these in general and get a general idea of how you can use these cards. So you've got the Fool, and you can see it says, and what you're seeing here is the upright and the reverse tarot. I don't. This is depicted in how you would use these in maybe a tarot reading, and a lot of people do add the 22 major arcana into the tarot cards when they shuffle, and so sometimes you, instead of getting a typical tarot card, you'll get one of these 22 majors, which is fine, and people like to add those in there. Sometimes they take them out and just don't use these. But anyways, the upside down and the reverse version is the shadow side of these archetypes. Morning, Adriana. And so each of these archetypes, and all archetypes, for that matter, there's always a shadow side to them. So there's the good, productive side that helps you understand, your traits. And then there's that shadow side. We all have that. And it's something that a lot of us don't want to talk about, or we try to shove it away or whatever. But I think really healthy people, people that are on this path, this journey, will accept their shadow side. It isn't something that they love, but the more you know about and understand about it, usually the healthier, and I mean that in a general sense, that just means that you're not pushing your shadow side away, because typically whatever you resist is going to exist, in a much greater way. So it'll come back stronger. So to at least accept it and integrate your shadow side is usually really healthy, meaning you're feeling really good about yourself because you understand that we've all got shadow sides. And you also, by understanding that and accepting it, you can watch out for when that starts to come up, and hopefully it won't take over or become an issue or problem in your life. So the Fool, tarot meaning is innocence, freedom, originality, adventure, travel, foolishness, carelessness, idealism, youth, spontaneity, lack of commitment, new beginning. So as I said, the Fool really is the traveler that's going to go on the journey with us. And when we're in this Fool energy or Fool archetype, we are showing our freedom, our innocence, our youth, our idealism. We're going to travel the world, that kind of thing, and explore and just have no cares in the world, but experience life. So there are times in our lives where that's wonderful, and we want to experience that and understand it. And so at the time that maybe you're deciding you want to take a trip around the world or be carefree or whatever, you are then working in that Fool energy of that archetype. And so why does that even matter? What does it even mean? Well, it's just another way to help us understand that we're all connected, we're all the same, because we can all relate to that to some degree. And we've all had that feeling in our life at one point or another, and some more than others. And so it's another way of saying that certain people really live in some of these archetypes. Like some people in the Fool vision, it isn't about being stupid, right? It's about being carefree. It's about adventure and travel. And we all know people in our lives that they are the epitome of this. And so this just helps us understand that they're not different or weird or whatever. That's this particular archetype or behavior that has been around since humans have existed in different fashions and forms. And this is another way to just help explain that and understand it. And for me, and for some people, these metaphors help us really understand that we're just like everyone else, that everyone goes through these things. And there's just different ways that we all behave in the world. So on the shadow side of the Fool, we've got recklessness, carelessness, negligence, stupidity, distraction, apathy, irrationality, lack of fun, and hope. Lack of fun, hope, or faith. Oh, lack of fun, lack of hope, lack of faith. So those are all the negative sides that can take over. So again, pretty obvious here that being in a good space where we're healthy and happy is when we're in between these two things, the shadow side and the positive side and the light side, if you will. Because, in these, like carelessness, most of these are definitely things that you definitely don't want to do. But in the reality is, there are times we're careless, right? We just are. Everyone is at some point. And so it's not that you're a bad person or whatever. It's that, you were leaning into the shadow side of the Fool archetype. And you're not going to go around, saying that to people. But if you're into using these metaphors and energy to help you understand your life better, this is just another way to do it. So the Magician, this is the one that I am relating to a lot. And this is power, influence, willpower, resourcefulness, skill, ability, logic, intellect, concentration, and psychic powers. Interesting thing about that is this one doesn't mention knowledge. There are other interpretations of some of these archetypes, and knowledge is used a lot in that one. This one, resourcefulness, skill, ability, all these areas that can relate to gaining knowledge in a way. psychic powers and so on. So I don't relate to all of this by any means. Like psychic powers, not really my thing. Power, influence, again, not really my thing. But with knowledge comes some influence. So it's possible. Now on the shadow side, we've got manipulation, greed, unused ability, untrustworthiness, trickery, convincing, cunning, lack of mental clarity. All of these things are areas that I don't want to live in. Certainly manipulation and greed aren't areas that I don't think I'm particularly into, but sometimes greed maybe. I mean, we all have parts of these shadow sides, and it's to understand that that's part of it, and realize that if we're really going into a certain negative area, that sometimes these cards can help us like wake up, like, oh my God, yeah, I've been so greedy lately. And that's the shadow side of this magician archetype, which I tend to, and usually we will all have a certain archetype or a couple that we'll really relate to. So if the magician is one of mine, if I like to relate my life to the magician energy, I need to watch out a little bit for some of the negative sides of that type of personality, which could be greed or manipulation. And there's two areas that I don't think I have a problem with, but I need to watch out for. So the High Priestess, let's see. We've got desirability, unattainability, mystery, sensuality, spirituality, thirst for knowledge, mystery, subconscious, higher power, creativity, and fertility. So again, you've got this divine feminine, characteristics, which can be really powerful to lean into this type of energy of the High Priestess. Now on the shadow side, we've got repression of intuition, blocked psychic powers, unwanted attention, uncontrolled outbursts, and sexual tension, lack of self-belief, and fertility issues. These are some of the energies of the High Priestess that can be on the shadow side that we have to watch out for. Well, there's just a taste of a little bit about these archetypes, about the 22 major archetypes of the major arcana, also called keys sometimes. So I'm going to be unpacking these a little bit more and coming up with some new ideas and concepts as I wrestle with this and put it together with my work of the hero's journey. So if any of this resonates with you, pop a comment in here. If you have any questions about this. If not, think about some concepts or topics that you might want to talk about. And we'll do this in other segments. I'll try to put out some of this information, and you can look at this and pick maybe a couple different archetypes that you might relate to, and then you can ask more questions about it, or we can talk about it in further episodes. All right, so let me see if I can get this off the screen. There we go. Yeah, so that's a little taste about our archetypes today. I hope you enjoyed that a little bit. We will dive in deeper and deeper into this. It's an area that I'm really interested in and moving in. It's definitely going to be, connected to Hero's Journey. It's connected to helping us understand ourselves better and how we can relate in the world better. And so hopefully you enjoyed that. So if there's nothing else, everybody have a great day. I will see you next week on Hero Life Hump Day, and we'll dive in. Again, guys have any questions or I can help out in any way, get in contact with me, jscottmcmillan.com, and I would love to talk to you, answer any questions, or just chit-chat about any of these topics about personal development, self-help, archetypes, energy mastery. And if any of you know the tarot cards, let me know, because this is kind of the tarot part is kind of an area that I'm a little bit new in, but it's kind of interesting. So I'm actually reading a book and taking a course on some of this, and I'm supposed to pick a card every day and I guess ask a question. I'm not really sure, but we'll learn more about this, and maybe it's something that if you guys are interested in too, we can explore the tarot side or the divining side, I think it's called, a little bit more. So, all right. So, see you next week, guys. Bye.
Nobody told me to settle down. Day nights and late nights. so get around.